If we all assume that everyone is doing the best they can, and under the circumstances with the information they had, everyone is trying. Because the whole film industry, as you know, is filled full of people who are paid to be right and paid a lot of money. And if you get 10 people who are all convinced they're right, if they don't accept that everybody has a different piece of information and we pool it and we move on. It's what I like about the industry. When it goes well, you are working with the people who are the absolute best at what they do and you're collaborating. When it goes wrong, you are sitting with a giant ego trying to soothe it. I think we've all had those meetings when you're sitting there going, yes, absolutely. Yes, we'll make that work. For me, the difficult moment is when the directors make gnomic comments that just don't make any sense. I once had a film director.
Welcome to Happy to Offend You. Life guarantees that somebody's going to be offended by anything that you do. In fact, somebody right now is offended by life itself, but they don't have to be. This show guarantees that someone is going to be liberated from being offended by somebody else's offensive behavior. What? Yes, we said it. This show sets out to prove not only how to be liberated from being offended, and also how to be happy to offend. So if you're already offended, welcome to the show. And here's your host of the very offensive, Michelle Nedelec. Hey there, peeps. This is Michelle Nedelec, and I'm super glad that you're here with us today on Happy to Offend You, where you get to unravel the why behind the mystery, that just because you're offended by someone doesn't mean that you're going to die. And in fact, if you can understand why they're not offended by the actions that they do, then we can actually create better, deeper, more meaningful relationships. I know it sounds crazy, and I know I'm not allowed to say crazy anymore, and yet I did, and here I am. And I am here with my very offensive guest, Liz. Liz, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me on to offend people. I appreciate it.
I just love how my guests are so absolutely adorable, and I call them offensive, and everybody's like, no, this is so not offensive. But give everybody the highlight of who you are and what you do.
So I'm a business strategist. My background is in film, which is a wildly collaborative space. Basically, I sat in the dark with a bunch of sweaty boys for 20 years. And when they let me out, I came out an expert at what I do, very good at dealing with life's little disasters, because film isn't about avoiding mistakes. It is about how you deal with them. And from there, I became obsessed by masterminds, because it's the same collaborative energy that you get from together we can lift each other up. And I love that. And if I could convince the whole world to be in a really good mastermind, I would.
Nice. I love it. So let's start with the obvious. Have you ever offended anyone?
Oh, I think I did it only today, actually, to be honest. It is so easy in the modern world. I try not to offend people, but I also am a human with strong opinions. And I think it's important to have opinions. You've got to stand for something, or you fall for everything, as they say. So yes, I do offend people. Sometimes, I will be honest, the simple fact that I am a woman online with an opinion, that just that rankles with some people.
Yes, it does. Now, I want to tap into this whole experience in the film industry and kind of the parallels that you have to what's going on today. Because to me, the whole film industry, I mean, we obsess over it, we iconicize it, we think that these people are brilliant and outstanding, and they are the gems of society because they acted in a film somewhere, which kind of cracks me up. I find that kind of offensive. Like, really? You know, they were fed their lines by like a literal team of people who have taken potentially months to write this stuff, or at least, you know, hone their skills into being able to write that moment. Nobody ever walks into the moment and has that perfect line that just, you know, sets it off. And it's like, oh, that's who they are. No, it's not. That's who their team is. So let's start with the parallels. What do you see as kind of the parallels between the film industry and, you know, reality? Let's call it that. Your reality.
Reality, yes. It is a very odd bubble, the film industry. So first of all, I worked with film directors, big Hollywood film directors, which you would think were people who could make a decision. You would think these people knew what they wanted. But to be honest, a lot of them, they have so much going on inside their heads all the time. A film director is usually working on 3 films at the same time. There's one in pre-production, there's the one they're shooting right now, and there's the one that they're doing post-production on. And I worked in post-production, so I was always the thing that just needed to be finished if we would just stop fooling about and get on with it. So I was kind of I was at the point between them finishing a project and the studio. So they wanted us to do well. So at any point when you're speaking to a film director, they've got these 3 films in their head. They've got all the shots they did yesterday while you're trying to show them something to get a decision. Do you want the duck yellow or do you want it white? These simple questions. They're thinking, well, what color were the ducks yesterday that I shot? How does it all fit together? Did I get enough coverage to cover all the ducks? Weren't they swans? Do we have a duck wrangler? What is going on here? So I'm trying to ask them what to me is the single question that is stopping them from moving forwards. There is a team of duck wranglers around me waiting for me to come back from the duck meeting with this lovely clarity of what's going on. And the film director's thinking, when did I say I'd get that shoot script done? Do I get like they have so much on? So for me, that poor, confused, much put upon person that is the film director is basically exactly the same as an entrepreneur who every time I am speaking to them has 6 other things from will I make payroll this week to what on earth is going on with that photocopier to do you think it's being broken on the weekends? Is it something to do with Kevin from accounts? I am suspicious the way it's always broken on a Monday. All of that's going on in their mind at the same time as I'm saying, can you look at your P&L a bit more often? So that feeling of let's remove the noise and make it lovely and clear. That's what my job is. Let's simplify things. And having been a director whisperer, I'm now an entrepreneur whisperer. So I think there's a really clear correlation.
I think there is. That was awesome. Because, and I think that when people get into that mode, especially entrepreneurs running a business, and they can get a little, let's call it trite or a little condescending or a little like, haven't we decided on this yet? It's in the script. Can't you just look? And it's like, no, it's not actually. And you have a note handwritten by you here that says that ducks are supposed to be white, and no, they're not swans. It's, and of course we're being overly simplified in that it could be a P&L, it could be whatever, but I can't tell you how many times I've heard like, just get it done. And it's like, well, I can just get it done the way I want it done. Particularly sure that's the way you want to run your business. And this really is a business decision, not a marketing decision or a whatever, like this is strategy. So like, how did you manage yourself in those moments when, to me, it could have been so easy. This is why I'm not an employee. I can be a contractor. I can sit and listen in on those meetings all day long. It's not my job. I don't care. You blow off on whoever you want to. I'm good with that. As an employee, that's when I lost my shit and went, oh, I can step in if you want me to. And then go, no. How do you maintain decorum when you're in that circumstance?
Well, to be fair, most of the film industry, we are freelance. So there's always some part of your mind is thinking, and just smile and use the special voice that works with the simple people. Let's just use that and think of your mortgage payments. But obviously, you also hope to work with the same studios over and over again. And I worked with about 5 studios that I sort of cycled between through my whole career. So there's that. You want to be brought back. You also want the people around you to look good. I think that's important. I certainly worked with people that did not value that, and they were not there that long. So you want the producers and the rest of the team to have a fair crack of looking as good as possible. You also don't want to be left holding the wrong end of the unpleasant stick, which there is quite a lot of blaming going on most of the time. But because the focus is not on the fact that mistakes have happened, because we know mistakes are going to happen all the time. So the result is, how do you deal with it? It's about rising above stuff. But yes, I have certainly spent time I have actually once entirely explained to a director, I'm not quite sure what to do right now. There's some terrible computer disaster had happened. And I'm like, I'm going to go through that door. You're going to sit here and drink your beer. You might hear distant screaming. That's not going to be me. Oh no, that'll be someone else. When I come back in about 10 minutes, I might be red around the eyes, but I will know what we're going to do. And it's that feeling of, well, let's be honest about this. This is an absolute disaster, but we will fix it. I think if you, as we said right at the top of the call, if you are confident, the people around you will feel that. At least I hope so. I've certainly had directors sort of hold my hand and go, please make it better. I have no idea how. I'll be back in 10 minutes.
Hey, have you ever had a computer blow up on you?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
awful. Oh my
Yeah.
God. How? What? I can't imagine like all the data of a movie going, oh, it's like up 4, up 5. Can we stop that now?
Yes, I have seen camera data disrupt, sort of corrupt through a whole database. So it ruined all the scenes. We had to start again. Fortunately, it was only a commercial, but it's still, we would upload the motion control data into the camera, which is a big sort of robotic arm. We would load it into the scene and watch it destroy all of the cameras in all the scenes. Yes. Yes, actually, oddly enough, that's the project where I went outside and he heard distant screaming.
No doubt. Oh my God. So you brought up a great point of the honesty of it, because I think a lot of people think if I just behave the way my mother told me to, air quotes here, people, lots of air quotes, lots and lots of air quotes, but just behave the way my mother told me, that everybody will be happy. And it's like, if nobody offends anybody else, we're going to be happy, right? Well, I don't think you can exist, one, without offending people, and two, then I think you become afraid of conflict and you become afraid of getting to the root of the problem. And I also think that getting to the root of the problem is when we start to collaborate on a real level that we couldn't do just on a creative, happy level. Thoughts?
Absolutely. I also think that if you assume the other people are not idiots, which can be hard, I will be honest, it can be hard. But if we all assume that everyone is doing the best they can, and under the circumstances with the information they had, everyone is trying. Because the whole film industry, as you know, is filled full of people who are paid to be right and paid a lot of money. And if you get 10 people who are all convinced they're right, if they don't accept that everybody has a different piece of information and we pool it and we move on. It's what I like about the industry. When it goes well, you are working with the people who are the absolute best at what they do and you're collaborating. When it goes wrong, you are sitting with a giant ego trying to soothe it. I think we've all had those meetings when you're sitting there going, yes, absolutely. Yes, we'll make that work. For me, the difficult moment is when the directors make gnomic comments that just don't make any sense. I once had a film director say, can you make it more religious? They were looking at a picture. Not really. I'm going to be honest, I'm going to need a bit more information on that. But that's just, communication is everything. I think I knew what they wanted. It's about asking them.
Nice. Now let's transform this conversation into the business realm of things, because I think there is a direct correlation with people who are introverts. Maybe they're just kind of slightly antisocial, they're a little tainted, whatever. And then they go, okay, but now I want to run this business and now I have to deal with people. And now I'm stuck with all these A-type personalities that are just like, seriously, people, can't you just so that we can all get along? How much does that attitude stop people from creating the results that they want because they're too busy judging everybody else?
Well, I think judging people, it's human. Sure. We all do it. Let's face it. Some of us more than others. It's whether or not it's on the inside or it's on your face. Is it visible? That's the big thing. But I also think judging people and introversion or extroversion are two completely separate things. Two totally separate. Most of my community are introverts and I love them. They are so loyal and smart and clever. And they're also extremely good at listening to us extroverts wang on about whatever it is we're talking about. Wait for us to run down, and then they will put that beautiful diamond thought clear and maybe we could do this. Oh yes, maybe we could. And I think that's important. There is such a lot to be said for letting the client, whatever they're saying, get on through that so that we can hear the full panoply of their pain before saying, we all do it. If you jump in too soon, I could fix this. No, it's like squeezing a spot. You need to get all of the poison out before you start fixing things. I've just compared clients to spots. That can't be right.
It is very diplomatic, and it'll take some people about 5 minutes to figure out what we were talking about, but that's okay. So when it and I love and agree wholeheartedly that I think everybody always brings something to the situation, otherwise they wouldn't be there. Period. And if we can just start from the understanding that we are co-creating an experience in this moment with the people that are in it for whatever reason, and that reason is always to my benefit. How can I see that clearly now so that if nothing else, I can make it through this meeting and or through this project or whatever. But when we're looking at it of like, oh my God, why are you here? then it doesn't exactly open up the conversation for a meaningful relationship of understanding. And in a meeting, is that important or not? Can I just sit in the back of the corner and shut up and wait for the drama to pass and overcome? Where do you think the most beneficial place for somebody is in that conversation, that mayhem?
It's a very important question. I always ask why I've been invited to a meeting. Simple as that. And if it isn't clear, I don't go. So I try very hard not to be in a room that I shouldn't be in. But I take it that you're talking about a room where, let's say, communication has gone awry and people are ripping lumps out of each other. At that moment, when passions are high, and I think we've all seen it, at that moment, I don't think you can modify stuff. You can ask for space, but you can't modify stuff. But if people are simply heated, but not actually in that alpha, aggressive Godzilla state, I learned years before I became a coach, I learned a variety of simple, very passive questions, like, could you just explain to me why this is like this? Can you just run me past the thinking that got there? Whereas inside, what I'm thinking is, what on earth is going on here? Why did you do it like this? This is disaster. But those very simple questions, because as we said, if you expect that people have done things for the right reasons, there probably is a reason that they've done this ridiculous thing. And I learned to ask those. So just explain, can you just talk me through this?
Nice. I love it. So talk to me about masterminds, because I've been to many of them, and some of them I've also experienced people that going, no, I don't want to be a part of a mastermind because I don't want to get into that situation. I know that if I get in a room of 8 people that all run their companies and they're all ego driven, this is going to be just a disaster waiting to happen. Like, count me out. What do you say to those people?
I say that, unfortunately, most masterminds are dreadful. I have to say, it's harsh, but it's true. So the sort of masterminds I run are small group masterminds. And unfortunately, the word mastermind has been hijacked and attached to all sorts of things that I would say are not masterminds. So a mastermind, in essence, is a small supportive group. We meet regularly, whatever that means, but we meet regularly, we make a plan, we discuss the plan for each person. We have questions are answered, things are discussed, and a goal is set that will be achieved for next time. So that feeling of together, we will have longevity. Now, if you have that, you have a mastermind. So I think at a stroke, we can rule out a lot of things where you could be in a room where you think, this doesn't seem to be a mastermind. This appears to be a cheese and wine event. I'm not entirely sure what this is. So assuming you're in a mastermind, you then need somebody to be curating who's in that room. So if you are in a curated mastermind, the people in there will realize they are there for the group not just as a giant ego stroke for themselves. If they are not, the person who has curated them has, forgive me, done a really bad job of running the mastermind. The most important thing about pretty much any meeting is not just who's in the room, but who wasn't asked. That curation, like the people who aren't there are every bit as important as the people who are. And unfortunately, for many businesses, running a mastermind is kind of a cash grab. Obviously, that is not what I'm talking about. And I know that we both experienced that. Why am I in this? What on earth is going on in here?
Absolutely. So when it comes to, well, let's kind of pivot this for a second. And is there a moment in your life, professional or otherwise, that you can remember being completely offended by somebody that you can now laugh at?
Yeah, interesting.
Hmm.
I was very recently, I was talking to somebody who we had a very strong disagreement about. I run a book podcast and we completely disagreed about the book. Michelle is smiling. It was not you, although we have recently disagreed about a book.
Yeah.
Fear not.
Sounds
But
familiar.
it was another time. It was with someone else. And I felt the book wasn't really getting its point across. It had a very strong point and it could be got across in a really beautiful manner. I felt that the style of the book didn't allow that. The person who I was discussing the book with felt that I simply didn't understand the culture of the book and called me culturally incompetent, which, as you can tell, I still feel was a bit rude. Because you can dislike a book without and understand it and still feel it could have been better. At that moment, I was like, how is this happen? How is this happening? I don't feel I'm incompetent. I already find it funny. I was peeved at the time. But for me, as soon as I start discussing it with other people, and then they said, suddenly at that point, I feel that I have to. You can't take yourself too seriously.
I feel that it would be the most diplomatic insult I've ever had in my life if somebody called me. It's like, wow, that is really savvy way of saying.
Exactly, saying you're a bigot. That's what they're saying. That is a very nice way of saying you, madam, are a bigot.
At which point I would go, well, is that the point of the book, is to explain the culture to somebody who's uncultured in that arena so that they understand that culture? It's kind of the point.
You would think so. And also, it was a manifesto, and surely a manifesto is to be to the point so that other people can learn what your plan is. Yes, as you can tell, not a favorite book.
I got yeah. Savvy and politically correct and all sorts of things have never been in my. If somebody told me I was ignorant to their culture, I'd be like, yeah, that's why we're having this conversation. That's how
yes,
that works,
absolutely. Yeah. That's why I'm asking questions. Now, I have to say, before we move on, this is very cheeky and feel free to cut this part, but where has the same thing happened to you? Where have you been offended and then laughed at yourself later?
Oh, that's the lesson of my life. I learned really early on in life that you don't poke other people without the willingness to be poked back, and that you can't simply defend yourself and expect not to be attacked. So I had the lovely pleasure of growing up in a family of 5 where the other 4 were all substantially older than I am, so between 6 and 10 years older. So I was kind of the play toy of preteen to teenagers, and preteen to teenagers tend to throw a lot of sticks, verbally, physically, and otherwise. So yeah, I learned to get kind of savvy at that early on. But culturally savvy, I've always been a little bit of a redneck. I've always been a little off key. I've always been a little sassy. I've always been a little, just rough around the edges, and I'm okay with it. I've become more okay with it as time goes on. But yes, once upon a time, people would, I've never been called trash, but it's been, that was the gist of it. And then all of a sudden I went, trash rocks. Like, we say whatever the hell we want and we know it and we're okay with it. And, it's just, oh, Bob's having a rough day. Good on you, Bob. You need some help. Like, what's going on?
Really embrace your trashness. I
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. Like, yeah, I get it. Okay. I'm good. And I've traveled the world and I've seen other cultures and I can, converse with the best of them now. I was a little egocentric about my city and entrepreneurialness. I think I live in the greatest city in the world because we're all entrepreneurs. We all like to work hard and have fun hard. And some people just don't understand that. And it's like, I think that's the essence, in fact, of where this whole show comes from is if I wanted to walk around and be offended all day, God knows I could do it. I offend myself some days and I spend hours going, why would you say that? Why would you say, why would you say that? There's like this conversation of critics going on in my head. And all of a sudden I'm up on jury duty going, okay, can you please replay this video back and go, why did you say that? It's like, okay, there's nothing in this planet I can do to take that back. So we either got to figure out that, why this is okay and or, what's the benefit of having that conversation in the first place. Because if I went around worrying about, tripping over my tongue all day or stick my foot in my mouth or any other of that crap, I would be toast. I would culture canceled so fast. I'd just be sitting in my little jail with my little concert of people going, okay, let's replay this video. How did we get here? Why are we here right now? Yeah. No, my biggest thing is I'm a left lane driver in the fact that I know how to drive in the middle lane. I know how to pass. I know how to get back in the middle lane. It appears to me that people don't understand the whole concept of getting out of my lane when I'm behind them. And that to me is still my most frustrating moment. And I'm most offended by people who don't understand that it's a privilege to drive and that they should understand the rules of the road, especially when they have my grill of my car in their back window.
That's fair. My pet peeve is people who talk through movies. Why would you pay $20 to sit behind me and discuss your divorce? I don't care.
Right? They can discuss the movie. That's kind of funny.
Even that's annoying, I have to say.
But I like little kids movies when they're sitting there going, oh, mommy, did she see the bad man behind her? Way to give it away.
Yes. Humans, they're annoying.
Right?
What can I
We
say?
are quirky beings, for sure. So now let's kind of wrangle this in. Give me an example of a Cinderella story of one of your clients of something that, when they came in, it was chaos and mayhem, and taking this understanding of the masterminds of, that other people actually have valuable input to bring into their lives and things, other people have valuable insights, even if they might be offensive. And then they can play it out in their lives and it actually works. Can you give us an example of that?
So I worked with a copywriter who, when she first worked with us and my masterminds are a very small group and they're a year long. So people sign up for a year and then most of them keep signing up because it works. So she joined, and when she joined, she was earning erratically. She had a tiny little copywriting agency. She was making under 70K. So the first year we got her up to 100K. Second year, she bid exactly the same, but only working about half a day a week. So excellent. Oh, I know. Superb. That's what systems will do for your kids. You'll be wanting those. Might have been a day and a half at most. So we went first, we got her up to snuff, and then we got her so that she was doing that automatically without her being there. And in the third year, she came to me and said, and because the thing about a mastermind is it's subtle, to have a place where once you put everything in place, you are just ticking off your to-do list every week. All of that feeling. She came to me and said, I don't know what you did, Liz, but I know it's got to do with the mastermind, but it's like the internet backed the money truck up to my business. And now I'm just knee deep in the stuff. And I was like, that is the best testimonial I've ever had. And that feeling of, we spent our time in masterminds simply answering every question. I've got this thing. What should I do? That feeling of having somewhere to go. So she wasn't allowed. She was a copywriter. She was extremely good at words. So that feeling, it was being surrounded by people that have answers and are willing to listen. And that you're in a room full of people where we just take you at your word. If you turn up and say, so I'm going to make this a 300,000 or 400,000 business, and we all went, and there was nobody going, oh no, but when you were 12 years old, you weren't very good at that. Oh no, we just assume, and we made it a space where that could happen. She had the skill. Obviously, she did all the work herself, but being in a space where people are going to go, yeah, right. So next week you'll have done that, right? It's so helpful.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So, quick question for you, maybe. At what point in life did you know that you weren't going to die just because you were offended by something somebody said or did?
Ooh, are you implying that I might offend people on the regular? What can I say? Well,
no, that you weren't going to die by something offensive that they did. Yes.
It's tricky, isn't it? Because when you're small, exactly that, every slight cuts deep. I think it's when I realized that the world is a harsh and difficult place. And if you don't laugh at it, you are screwed, frankly. It's going to be, like, the nature of humans is that we look at our mistakes and, as you said, replay the highlights. Oh, inglorious technicolor. Yes, I did make that mistake. It's the point where if I did that all the time, I would be crushed by it. For me, it was the moment where I made the decision to change my internal voice, so it was on my side, as opposed to that peanut gallery of just nastiness. And I'm like, I need my subconscious working on my side. It was hard, but that was the moment. I was sitting on a bus thinking, like if anyone else on the planet spoke to me the way my subconscious is right now,
right?
I would punch them. This is terrible.
Absolutely. I think I remember the day when, I don't know if you remember the Muppets, but they had the little the judge and jury up on the balcony suite, whatever they call a little Juliet balcony up there. And I was having one of those moments where the judge and jury were out. Why would you do that? And then all of a sudden I can hear these two heckling. Like, okay, this is awesome. I can deal with this now. It's like, okay, we got it.
Yes,
awesome.
absolutely. I used to do a lot of work with the Jim Henson's company, who are the people that made the Muppets, for a long time. And for me, one of the reasons I got into the film industry was I was watching Rolf the bear play the piano, and his lunch, which was a burger and a milkshake, was singing to him as he was playing. And I thought, I was 16 years old. I'm like, I think that I might have found what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Oh, that's awesome. That's fantastic. You have been absolutely awesome. Any last words for our highly offended peeps?
Well, you see, I think if you're not even noticing that people are being offended, which is what we're supposed to feel, you're kind of missing the point. I think the key is to let the offense sort of slide over you. I think you should notice it, because some people, they are going out of their way to tweak our painful points. And I think you should notice and then think, and you know what? What does that say about you, not us? So notice and move on. Swan-like, glide past them.
Be the white swan, not the yellow duck. Awesome. Hey, thank you, Liz, for your time. I appreciate it immensely, and I know how valuable it is.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Peeps, this is Michelle Nettleck. Thank you for being here with us today. Be sure to subscribe to the show. And if you're looking to, either be offended or be unoffended, be sure to connect with us. We love hearing from you.